All right, hey, welcome to HIT, High Intensity Tactics for Growth. And today I'm talking to Senior Vice President at Pure Romance, Miss Cheryl. Cheryl, what's shaking?
Oh my gosh, we've had an amazing time this week. I mean, talk about a lot of things shaking, right?
Dude, it's been insane. I want to get in because I know we've talked a lot about sales. We talked about overcoming obstacles. We've talked about so many different things on HIT. But one of the things that I want to make sure that we talk about today, and it's kind of like relevant because I want to talk a little bit about leadership and culture inside of teams.
Leadership's one of my favorite topics. You know, this is my jam, right?
Yeah.
And we're coming off of a large event where we invited our leaders in, and obviously all of our individuals to engage in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, when we think about this, and today in the world of leader, I know we talk a lot about this. I mean, you're leading sales teams, you're leading all these different folks that are constantly calling you. Would you say today, more than any other is leading is really serving people, and I think that not only do we have to lead our boards and our presidents club like that, and teaching them that service is a good thing.
Yeah, well, I think about our experience this week, and there's been so many examples of people who are serving in their leadership role. And boy, the ones that get it, the ones that are doing it very consistently and with a genuine purpose and intent are getting so much different results than the people who are maybe putting it on for the day. And so I think, when we talk about leadership culture, I think oftentimes you wonder, like, who owns the culture? Is it the leader? Or is it the team? And truth be told, it's every single person that is involved in whatever organization or movement or business. It's every single person. Yeah. And that's really what we've proven over and over again this week, is that those people that step up and they make it about others and then they make it about other people's success are the ones that are leading and leading so much more positively than the ones that maybe make it about other things other than the team.
Well, I will say this, when we think about leadership too, it's also having a very confident and clear direction. And I think that I'll use myself, for example, and it kind of took me back this week, right? There's so many things that you, as a leader, you put them in play one time, right? You put them in play, and then you go, the next year you're like, well, should I do that again? I don't know if I should do that. Did they really like it? Did they not like it? And it really took me back as of watching people being able to greet people at the airports or being able to greet them at the hotels. And that was leadership that you guys put in play and funneled that down to the teams. We sometimes leaders second guess themselves, and I'm being one of those that you come up against this. Does it work? Does it not work? And you're like, it's so much hassle. There's so much coordination. There's so many logistical pieces. You know what? Let's just make it simple. Let's just keep it really simple. We found out really quickly, it's not about being simple. It's about, if something freaking works, just keep doing it. Don't worry about all the logistics. Don't worry about all the other pieces. Would you agree with that?
Oh my gosh, it's so worth it. But I think what we fall down on as leaders is we assume everybody else knows what we know. And everybody else sees the purpose and sees the reason. And as a leader, you're reselling that with every new person that comes in. Yeah. And truth be told, sometimes we get tired or bored of doing some of the same things over and over again. But I think in any business, it's the core that really is the magic. It's not sometimes the sizzle reel. Yeah. What happens behind the scenes, those logistics and those details, that's what makes the difference. I mean, really the fortune is in the details.
I feel like, I feel like leaders, and if it's a football coach out there, or if it's a business owner out there listening or whatever, don't get so caught up in, we did that last year, and and drop the logistics and making things simple, because you're gonna have some staff members, and that's what's happened to our team members that have come and said, that's just a lot of work for the staff, or that's a lot of extra hours for the team, or whatever. But here's the thing: when you start listening to that and going, it's probably a lot of work to have people greeting at airports. You know what? We really don't need people kind of getting excited on stage before people come out, or we don't need those identifiers, because that means we have to order different badges for people or whatever. And you're like, okay, let's just make it simpler, because one person on the team or two people on the team want it simple, want it easy. They don't want to have, they want to make it about them. And the problem is that you start listening to that as a coach, as a leader, as a business owner. And what happens is you start drifting further and further and further away from the culture. And I take blame for that, because I did that. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I think we went back to the roots. We went back to exactly why we grow, what has made us successful. And I think that was proven, this week. And for all those leaders out there, I mean, you saw, I mean, you see the excitement, all those little things that everybody says, oh, that's just too much logistics, too much time. Those little things are what creates the big culture.
Yes. You know what I thought about this week? And you're going to think this is crazy, but stay with me for a minute. I thought about socks.
Oh, okay.
And here's why I thought about socks. Remember John Wooden, the famous basketball coach, right?
Yeah.
And he would always require that his players wore clean socks.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, people were like, why was he focusing on the socks? Because that was how they were going to play the game. Did they take their game seriously? That they showed up and they were prepared, they took care of their equipment, they took care of their appearance, and they cared about what they brought to the game. Mm-hmm. That's what we did this week. Putting on that t-shirt was like a player putting on those clean socks, ready to play the game differently.
Yeah.
And you might be saying, well, it's just a t-shirt. It put that person in the mode that said, maybe a position, maybe a title, maybe all of that isn't the thing, but stepping into the role that says, I'm going to show other people how to come into this event and get the most out of it. So it's about energy. It's about enthusiasm. It's about helping people open up and be vulnerable and push themselves out of their comfort zone. And so that act of putting on the t-shirt was like John Wooden saying to his team, have clean socks because we want you to show up in this space as a leader.
Yeah. It's so funny. We gave our board, we gave President's Club, we gave everybody different types of shirts, right? Because we want them to be identified. We gave them different bags. But you know what? That culture that we put up top, right? And we funneled it down. Sometimes leaders are going, well, the rest of the team get it. Well, other people start stepping up and doing their own thing. And last night, okay, so for those that don't know, we had 4,000 plus people that came into Cincinnati. And it was awesome because I saw so many of the up and coming leaders and leaders in our business that did the same thing for their teams. That same thing, like, let's make sure we look unified. Let's put the t-shirts on, that those little small things by that token that this is our tribe and that tribe is bigger than part of another bigger tribe. And it was so cool that the things that you do at the top filter down, and you saw some of those upcoming leaders where they had their teams all in the t-shirts, and everybody looked in a unified position, and they felt a part of something. And that's the coolest thing is people don't get into businesses just because they want to make money. As a leader, we got to understand that there are different wants and different needs, and 45% of people here get in it because they want to belong to something.
They want to be part of something, and everybody wants to be part of something. Two things I want to say on that. One, we fight being accepted throughout every element of our life. I mean, that really is, when you think about it, acceptance is probably one of the hugest issues. If you think about bullying, if you think about people trying to connect, if you think about what happens on social, like people are just trying to be part of something and be accepted. The other thing is, my realization this week was putting on that t-shirt wasn't a status symbol.
No.
It actually made that person more approachable. So they had a reason to open up a conversation. They had a reason to seek that person out. So it was like, oh, you're a board member? How did you make it on board? Or, oh, you're a part of the Diamond Empire? What is it like working with Dana Barish? So like for us, it made them more connectable. Instead of putting them on a pedestal and saying, here's this echelon, it made it so that people were seeking out the success nuggets.
Yeah. It's even think about this, and you put it in kind of a sports related term, or you put it into.
Well, I know you like sports.
I do like sports.
And coaching,
yeah,
right?
And coaching. I mean, it's kind of like, it's nice because we want to make sure the coaches are all wearing the same gear because we know who, how the kids can come to us, and to know what they need to be. Hey, all that the white shirts, those guys are going to be the offense guys, and these guys right here in the red, they're defense guys. Ask those guys if you have questions, and it isn't about status. It's about like being a leader to help your people identify where they need to go to, where they need to get their information from. Because I think so many times we take it for granted that people know where to go to ask. And there's a lot of people that have no idea. So think about it. If you're running a team meeting today, right? And you get everybody that is coming into your team. You always got new people coming in, right? And you got new people that are coming into into your group. Well, unless the sponsor's there, who do they go to ask? How do you know who to identify? Have you talked about like, hey, listen, if you see somebody with this type of pen or you see somebody with this type of shirt on, those are the folks that you can go ask questions about. Yeah, this is a board member or a President's Club member. These are the people that have identified themselves as people that are going to go out there and help. I mean, those little things mean a great deal to people.
Well, the other thing I was reminded of too is it reminds the leader she's leading or he's leading. I know you probably had this experience this week, and I know I had. People who would walk up to you and say, "You've touched my life. You've impacted my life. You've helped me move forward." Sometimes in our process of doing, our process of moving forward, we forget how many people are watching.
Oh, God.
And so for me, some of these unique things that we did to drive more connection and to put these leaders out in front was about reminding the leader that the leader is leading.
Leadership is one of those positions, and I tell people, coaching leadership, sometimes it's this, it's not instant gratification. It is literally one of the jobs that I would tell you that has the least instant gratification. But when you are able to see somebody grow that you've worked with, you put time in, did I make the right decision with that person?
Yeah.
Did I give them the right information? And to see that not after one time, second, third, fourth, it could be a month, a year, 2 years, and you see that development, and you're like,
the payoff.
Oh, my goodness.
The payoff, it's not instant, right?
No.
But the payoff is so much more valuable when you can see somebody become a completely different, more improved version of themselves. Yeah. And perhaps you had something to do with kicking off their trajectory, or at least saying to them, I believe in you. I know you have what it takes. You need to start believing in you. Oh my gosh, the payoff is crazy.
Yeah. I will tell everybody that's listening going, okay, so leadership, it sounds great, but how do I lead? Well, here, lead is first lead yourself. You got to lead you first. You got to be the one that's going out there and keeping yourself accountable to the things that are the small things, the small little victories that you got to go out there. You got to lead yourself by making sure you're doing things consistently. That's really a system of life. And once you do, and people will start seeing you lead properly. You don't have to beg for followers when you're doing yourself right.
No,
when you're doing it,
you earn them.
You earn them.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest part about this. So if you're sitting there going, well, I don't have anybody to lead, I will tell you right now, the first person is the most important person to lead. That's you. Having accountability, having discipline, commit to the process, detach from the outcome. And from that point, when you do that, those followers will see you. They're going to say, I want to join that lady's team. She looks like she's got her stuff together. I want to do business with that person because she looks like she's somebody that is an authority figure on what it is that she does. And I will tell you, that is the funnest part, is when you see somebody like going through Future Leaders, somebody goes, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. I'm like, well, what do you mean you're not supposed to? What do you mean? She goes, well, I don't have a team yet. I'm like, yeah, you do. I said, you're the number one person on the team. You're the head of the team. You're leading yourself. And when you do that, people are going to take notice. And that, my friend, is where you get followers, because leaders have followers.
I mean, I'll tell you what, some of probably the most impactful times as a leader is when your team's the smallest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Or you might be at the bottom of the ranking list and you're fighting your way to be number one. Sometimes that's when the impact can be the most. And I think that sometimes people forget, or they say, well, what is a leadership role? And I agree, like you said, it's about leading yourself first. And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, if I were to look at what I did throughout the course of the day, would I have told another team member to do that? You keep yourself accountable to the actions you're taking.
Yes.
And would you follow yourself as a leader? So absolutely begins with you.
I got a rule. I won't ask anybody to do something that I won't do, because that is the worst. That is not a leader. That's just somebody that's shuffling off the responsibilities and delegating without doing. And I think that's a problem. So again, I just got to tell you, I think, from everything I saw this week, I was super impressed with the filtering down of the culture, the small little things, the things that leaders shouldn't forget, that will sometimes, we think the big impact, the coaching sessions, the numbers and hitting them up, It's the little things that drive success. And don't forget, because that leads to a successful culture. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Cheryl Forrest, thank you so much for doing this today. Remember, you've always had the pen to create your next chapter. Remember, live life by design, not by default. Thanks so much. Don't forget to rate it and review it. Go online. Make sure you tell us what you love. Thanks so much for tuning in to Hit.